What's up, guys? Welcome to the first episode of the College Athlete Network podcast. Today, we are joined with Associate Head Coach of the Emerson men's basketball team, Coman.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm excited to talk more about the recruiting process and helping other kids get recruited.
All right, yeah. So then we'll just go ahead and start with the first question. Well, before we actually start with all the questions, though, just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you ended up, coaching at Emerson.
Yeah, well, I was born and raised in Dallas, Texas, and played high school basketball at a 6A school in Texas, and ended up getting recruited to go play at a Division III school in Arkansas, Hendrix College, and ended up graduating with a business and economics major. Was a two-time all-conference player and four-year starter, and had a great experience there. And with the extra year of COVID eligibility, I decided to throw my name in the transfer portal and ended up at Emerson with that extra year of eligibility, and had a great experience and finished out that year and received a certificate in sports communication and ended up looking for a coaching job from the end of the season until the summer. And it actually ended up being Coach Curley who called and made my second job offer of the summer, and I happily accepted and moved back to Boston right after I thought that was just a quick little 9 month stint. But really excited to be back and continue to pursue my masters and work with players like you guys that are great on the court, off the court, and going to do big things in the basketball world.
Awesome. That's
All
great
right,
stuff. Yeah,
perfect.
we're happy to have you as our coach. So I guess just getting right into questions about the recruiting process. What are kind of some of the first things you look at when you see a player in a recruiting or exposure camp, or maybe you're at their game evaluating a player as a whole?
Yeah, I think obviously all those coaches want players that can play and help your team, get to the next level, whatever that level is. So you're definitely looking for the on court tangible stuff of shooting, passing, dribbling, defense, athleticism, but it's definitely a lot more to that. It's definitely, can they pick up on concepts? Are they in the right spot? Are they communicating and talking? Are they doing the little things? Are they hitting the floor, diving for loose balls? Are they boxing out and crashing really hard? Are they sprinting back after they make a mistake? I think too many kids um, try and play perfect and try and play without making a mistake rather than playing full out and knowing that mistakes are going to come, but not letting those mistakes compound one after the other. Rather, it just, I made a mistake and move on to the next play and play harder on the other end. Don't make your mistakes hurt your team out of frustration by turning the ball over and then fouling and then taking a bad shot and then not playing defense. Rather turn it over and get back on defense and live to fight another day. So I think players that have high levels of mental toughness, is really important, especially trying to get recruited. Adversity is going to hit, especially as a freshman. You're gonna struggle to get on the court. You're gonna struggle to stay on the court. You're gonna struggle to pick up with college concepts. So I think having a level of understanding and a level of mental toughness that they're not going to get so frustrated when things aren't going their way in a high school game, a tournament, a camp, or wherever you're watching them. I think that's definitely the most on court stuff that players have control over, whether they think they do or not. They can definitely control how hard they play and how they respond after mistakes. And then, when they're on the bench, are they standing up being a good teammate, or are they watching a different game, or are they, looking at the crowd at their parents and trying to figure out what they want them to do rather than what the team needs them to do. So I think, it's a holistic process when it comes to recruiting a player, because you're around them a lot of the year for 4 straight years, and they have a really strong impact and hold on the pulse of the group, and one bad apple can turn everything sour. So you kind of have to judge them from a playing standpoint, an effort standpoint, and a mental toughness standpoint. And then obviously at our level, we're looking for kids that have grades and test scores and all of that. So I think kids don't understand the importance of student athlete. I think a lot of kids just want to be the athlete, but the student part is definitely something that at most all levels, and when you're trying to kind of recruit yourself, is one of the biggest things, if not the biggest thing that you can control. Obviously, everyone wants to be a top 100 player and have the 5-star logo next to their name and coaches coming to their game and NIL deals promised. But for the majority, you got to have good grades and a good person about yourself to get recruited, especially here.
Yeah, awesome. And then for some of these players that, like, as you said, not everyone's a 5-star, not everyone's a top recruit that the coaches go to games to. What is the most effective way for a player to reach out to a college coach for them to come to their games, to their camps, and things like that?
Well, I think definitely you reaching out through an email, especially if you're under recruited. Reaching out through emails is really good, and I think structured emails that include the coach's name, your name, a little bit about why the school is a good fit for you. Make it personal to the coaches. So many coaches get emails every day that are a lot of times just generic fillers that don't stand out to the coach or the school. But if you can give a reason why X school is perfect for you and have a reason or two because of the school program or the location or an alumni or just anything that is specific to that school that is something that you're interested in and actually true, will help you stand out. And I think include camps that you're going to, tournaments that you're going to be playing in, and then also ask a question. What are you looking for? How can I get on your radar? What camps are you going to? And maybe try and go find some of those college coaches out on the recruiting trail and put yourself in front of them if they're not going to be in front of you. I think sometimes you have to go make that extra initiative, by maybe traveling a little bit farther or doing something that maybe none of your friends or people that are doing, but that's kind of the extra stuff that'll help you get recruited, especially when you're not as known.
For sure. I guess on the flip side of that, what are some things that you see common in emails that players should leave out that shouldn't be in there, but you still see from time to time?
I think one, players like to build an email template, which I'm not against email templates. I know it's time saving and you're just trying to blast it out to emails, but one, make sure you include the right coach's name. Two, and make sure you include the right school's name. Three, don't just ask, can I have a spot on the team? Ask, what are you looking for? Ask, where will you be? Um, we see a lot of highlight tapes with music that is kind of maybe just not appropriate for a highlight tape that a high school kid is sending out at 16, 17, 18 years old to a college coach looking to recruit them. As you guys will see as you get deeper in your basketball career, you're at the mercy of the players a lot of the time, so you don't want the players that you're recruiting to hurt your own reputation. So when you see some of these things through the music choice or the verbiage that they're using in the email, this can kind of deter you away, as you might see they could be problematic in the future because of this. I think it is something that just you don't need too much background music. Have a concise, clean email. And don't ask for opportunity. Ask where opportunity is. Are you going to be at this camp? Are you going to be at this tournament? Are you looking for this position? Are you able to hop on a phone call so I can learn more about you and your program rather than can I have a spot on the team? I think we see a lot of emails where it's just people want handouts rather than going through the process, and a lot of that times can happen when people start late. So I think start early. Whether you think you're going to be recruited highly without it or not, I don't think it hurts to send out a few emails just to get the ball rolling.
Yeah. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
You talked about a lot of like mistakes or like good things to include in your emails. Now, during the summer, there's going to be a lot of kids playing in AAU and these exposure camps. What's something they should avoid, or what's a common mistake you see at these recruiting camps that when you see it, like it immediately like turns you away from a player?
Yeah, I think those camps are tough because you're playing in an all day, multiple day venue that is just game after game after game with people that you don't really know. Everyone's kind of out there. I wouldn't say selfishly, but a little bit selfishly to get recruited because that's why we're all here. Um, so they decide, to play hero ball and take bad shots and, not look to make our teammate better. And as you guys know at Emerson, that's one of our biggest sayings is make your teammate better. So players that aren't looking to do anything but just get shots up and try and get their own numbers is something, I think is a common mistake rather than trying to play the right way. Like I said, communicating on defense and crashing hard on rebounds and diving for loose balls and being willing to make the extra pass and pick up a teammate that you don't know or cheer for a guy that you don't know. I think are good qualities. And I just think, coming in with an attitude that you're willing to talk to any coach that's there and you're not too good for anybody that's there. I mean, I think some players get out there and they feel like they're too good of a level to talk to some of the coaches that are there and they just don't give them the time of day. And I think what a lot of these players don't know is these coaches all talk and are friends and maybe not friends, but talk at these camps and information spreads like wildfire. So if one coach says, wow, that kid is, entitled or that kid is not a great student or not very personable in the sense of I don't think he's gonna get along with my team. That news is going to spread to a lot of people, and that can hurt your recruitment. So, be willing and open to talk to everybody that you can, and know that they're just trying to help you. Maybe you are better than them, but you can find advice and learn more about them. And again, if you used it in the right way, those coaches that could say the bad things about you could quickly go and tell a coach at a higher level all the good things about you and how well you handled yourself and how well you would fit into their program. So I think just as you can do all the bad things and be told about, you can also do all the good things and have your name spread that way. So it's just about how you handle yourself at these camps and knowing that, I think some kids want to go into the camps and get an offer that day. That's not the day to get the offer. That's the day to start the relationship and start the process to eventually get the offer.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think people underestimate how long of a process it is to get recruited.
Definitely. I think people want that immediate fix where, I go to a camp, I got an offer, I'm going to school. It's way more than that. It's you're going to the camp, you're meeting the coach, they're watching you play. Then they shoot you a text, you have a phone call. Then you send some transcripts over. Then you take the SAT. Then you go on a visit. Then you watch some games live. Then you decide you want to play with them. I mean, it's a multi-month, sometimes yearly process
Absolutely.
that just takes patience.
And with that, for as coaches, obviously it's your guys' job to kind of cast that net of recruiting as wide as possible. So what type of communication for players that are getting recruited who might be new to the process looks like we're recruiting you heavily right now versus we're just kind of putting you on our radar? How do players know the difference between the two?
I think players have the right to ask the question to the coaches, where do I stand on your list? How serious is this? I don't think there's any harm in asking, and I do believe coaches have the responsibility to be honest and open to these players and not try and trick anybody or play any games with where they are in the recruiting process. I think it also takes a little bit of feel. I think maybe the more schools you talk to, the better feel you get for having a wide variety of coaches' input, and you can kind of tell off conversations. Oh, I hear from this guy a few times a week. Oh, I only hear from this guy every other week. Oh, this guy sends me articles and newsletters and clips from the school. Oh, this guy, just kind of follows up and asks how I'm doing. I think there's a little bit of feel of knowing how the relationship's going. Um, but I think definitely you can ask. I think definitely you can do a little bit of research on their team and see, oh man, I'm a 6'2" point guard, and they're only losing two 6'6" wings next year. Like they might not really be looking to bring me in. So I think you have to fill in some of the dots and do some homework on your own. But I definitely think more in the sense of asking the coach and getting a feel of how they're treating you and how the kind of relationship building process is going. But we try and be upfront and honest with our players, and say, hey, we have a big class coming back, not a lot of turnover. I think with your XYZ ability or size or toughness or characteristic that is why we're recruiting you could put you in the mix, but maybe not. And some other kids, we say, hey, I think you could be good in a few years. I think right now with the roster that we have, it might not be your time. But again, one of our sayings, if you're willing to work while you wait, your time should come. So we try and be upfront and honest with our recruits when we see them play live and we get to know them a little bit better, of where they stand, so they can make the best judgment possible for them and their family on their college decision.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's great. I think there needs to be more of that in the coaching world too. If coaches are being honest about that. I don't know how it was for you, Guillermo, but through my recruitment process, there was just a really wide variety of the way coaches and schools communicated, and some of it was dishonest, some of it was just weird. There was a whole variety of stuff. You guys as a staff were really good and easy to communicate with and had kind of a homey feel, but there's so much variety of just different things you hear from coaches that are just wild and whack.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, I
for
think
sure.
I think coaches like to play games too much rather
Mhm.
than just be straightforward and honest, and know that they're, especially at our level, they're dealing with 16 to 18-year-old kids and parents that are making a big commitment on a one-time decision that they want to get right. So you shouldn't play with their feelings or their emotions or their money. So I think it's good to be honest and let them make the most educated decision they can.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's for sure very important to learn the roster, like well, how you said, do your homework and know where you could fit in, what the coach is saying. You have to like kind of like suss it out because they could be saying one thing just to keep you as an option, but in reality, they're getting two other guys from somewhere else. So you have to make sure you also have as many options as possible, just to avoid running out of options and not having anywhere to go.
Yeah.
I agree with that completely, G. I think one, having all the options is it gives you a choice at the end of the day that this is where I want to end up. And I think also it allows you to get a feel on, oh wow, this coach really likes me, I can tell, rather than I've got two coaches I'm talking to and that's it. And so I don't really know, but a bigger sample size will help you make that decision.
Right. And even if there's a school that you think you might want more, like more, was higher on your list, if there's another school that might have been lower on your initial list or you're not sure about, but they're recruiting you more and they want you more, that experience at that school might end up being way better than the other one. So there's got to have an approach. There's no school you're too good for, no coach you can't respond to their email. Yeah, cast your net as wide as they cast theirs because they're talking to a ton of players. You should talk to a ton of coaches.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's great advice.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you'll be happiest where you play most. So if you're at a school you like but you don't play, class is gonna get a little harder. Those trainings are gonna get a little longer. So if you play, you're most of the time you're happy. So you gotta keep that in mind.
Go where you're wanted, not where you want, right?
Yeah, yeah,
I,
exactly.
I think so too.
And just a couple more final questions. If you were in the recruitment process right now, if you were a player, what would you do? What would you tell yourself?
I think that's a great question. I think it's actually something I've thought of a little bit more now going on to year 3 on the coaching side. One, I think just coming from a different region of the country, the recruiting process is just a little different. We aren't as big into the Ivy League camps as the Northeast is, maybe. We don't do the prep schools. We just play for high schools, play for AAU. Being from Dallas, we didn't have to travel too terribly much because the coaches came to us since we were a center hub in the South. Um, I think this probably limited my recruitment because I was mainly being seen by schools in the South and maybe not as like volume of high academic schools as I could have. With that being said, I ended up exactly where I needed to go at Hendrix College with a high academic background and a good basketball program and a good league. So it ended up working out, but I think the options, as we're talking about today, could have been more. Had I think one, I should have emailed more coaches. I think I was a little ignorant and thought coaches would come after me more. So I think one, having a really good email template going into my junior to senior year. I think I would have tried to include a highlight tape from my junior year. And again, I did this, but I just don't think to the volume or all over the country like I could have. I think at the time I was also a little bit stuck on trying to stay close to home, and I think that was good for me at the time. I think now I look back on it, I could have gone farther away, but I would have sent a email to schools all across the country rather than in my region with a highlight tape from my junior year of high school, a little bit about myself, a little bit about why that school that I was reaching out to uh, was of my interest, and then a complete breakdown of my calendar for the summer tournament. And then I think I would have asked the coaches what camps do they suggest I attend this summer. And I think I definitely would have made a East Coast trip to do an Ivy League camp at Harvard, Yale. I think just done a little bit better job of marketing myself through emails and through attending a little bit more prospect camps rather than kind of sticking to the typical AAU tournament and high school cycle that really kind of the state of Texas and the South do more than I'd say up here. I think up here they do a really good job of utilizing prep schools. AAU teams have college nights, like I'm going to tonight to go watch different AAU teams all play together, and then obviously they have the access of the high academic camps with the Ivy League schools located up here. So I think I would have hopefully gotten a little bit of different feedback from coaches on things to work on or levels that I might be at. Just by playing in front of different coaches that are in different leagues. So I think that's the biggest thing I would do differently is, reach out to more coaches that weren't necessarily in the South, and I think attend a little bit more nationwide camps to just get a feedback on where I lay, kind of in the bigger picture thing of these coaches' eyes.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that, you mentioned you're going to, they have the AAU college nights and these prep schools who have all throughout fall, they have their open gym schedules. What do you think are some ways that kids who are at public schools that aren't maybe on a AAU team that has these college nights or at a prep school can you know level out that visibility and put themselves in your guys' eyes more or in front of them
Yeah, I
more?
think that's a great question because it's definitely a advantage that these prep school kids have and these kids that are playing on these big named AU programs that allow them to be seen more frequently. I would say, um, I would say one, just play, and get as many reps and get as best you can. And I think try and videotape it, when you're playing against good competition, so that you have tangible footage to email these coaches and to share. I think by putting together your own workout tape, even though coaches may not love or offer you off of a workout tape, you can at least kind of showcase some of your skills and your work ethic, and what you're able to kind of come up and think of up on yourself, to show maybe a little bit of basketball IQ and ways to tailor a basketball workout to your specific needs. And then I think, as best you can, if you can only, afford or make, one camp a year, I think you try and do the best research you can, and to see what camp attracts the most coaches that you're looking for, and attending that camp. And I think when you get to that camp, don't be afraid to walk up to the coaches. Some coaches don't talk to any players when they're at the camp. They're there to just, solely look at the talent and assess and make their notes, and then they go back and they make the phone calls in the upcoming days and weeks. So don't be afraid to walk up to their coach, introduce yourself, tell them who you are, tell them a little bit about your situation. Keep it super professional. Ask a great question about advice that, like, it could be the exact same question you asked Shay. What can I do to level out the playing ground, since I'm not at a prep school, I'm not at a major AU program, but basketball is something I'm super passionate about and want to pursue. I just don't have the resources or ability to, be a part of some of these teams and programs. I just play at my own high school. But this is what I'm determined to do, is play college basketball. What advice do you have to help me be seen by more coaches? So I think by just being confident in yourself and going up and talking to these coaches, that'll make kind of a lasting impact, that you can maximize one of these days. And I think one really good day from a person can be better than attending camps all summer and just kind of flying under the radar. I think that you just have to stand out once to get on people's radar, and if you do a good enough job of that, then they don't care where you go to high school, they'll go find you play.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's great advice. Exactly what um, you know, is something that kids would need to hear. Because it's hard when it's hard to be seen when people aren't necessarily, or coaches aren't necessarily looking for you. Whereas I feel like the prep school AU kids, some coaches are hunting for those kids, but yeah, could take one game, you go off, you trust the work you put in, and that's the beginning of the end for your recruitment story right there.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
definitely very important to like try to get out there as much as possible. The first time you play in front of coaches, you're probably going to be nervous. You're not going to play your best basketball. So if you keep putting yourself out there in front of coaches, you'll become more comfortable. You'll play better. You'll know what to do, and it's just going to give you a better chance to get seen, get recruited, and then have as many options as possible.
Definitely. And I think, like you said, it's going to be nerve-wracking to play in front of coaches, but the more you do it, and the harder you work, the less nervous you'll be. And I think last piece of advice for that is, if you can find a list of these are the coaches attending our upcoming summer camp, and just email them all. I don't know if any player at the camp is emailing every coach, making a personalized email, and telling them, I'd love for you to come watch me play, because I know when we get emails of players saying they're at this upcoming tournament or camp that we're going to be at, and they want us to watch, we definitely go and watch them for at least a game or two. Because if they're showing genuine interest, then why would we not go and give them the time and opportunity to show what they can do?
Coach, I really appreciate you taking the time to come and talk with us. I think we talked about a lot of really key parts of the recruitment process, and I think there's a lot here that anyone watching can really take away and learn from. I think this is definitely a lot of stuff that I think you can attest to this, Guillermo. Like, we learned through going through the process, and maybe didn't know beforehand. So I think it's so valuable for some of these key things that might seem obvious to some guys, or even seem obvious to now us hearing, are really not when you go through it. So again, really appreciate you taking the time to come and share this information with us and allow us to put it on our platform.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. I know you guys are going to help a lot of upcoming high school kids, get recruited and reach their dreams. So I'm really excited to see what you guys do with this platform, and know you guys are going to make it great. So if you guys need anything, let me know.